Okay.
Well, first off, hello. It's a pleasure to meet you, Aaron.
Pleasure to meet you,
Um,
buddy.
would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, so my name's Aaron. Originally, I'm from video games, and now I'm kind of breaking into board games and excited about that. And 20 some years ago, I thought of this concept of a JRPG board game that you could kind of play and have fun with and play solo. There was not a lot of solo games at the time, and I thought, heck, this is something I could do. So it felt right. About last November, I left Rockstar and was kind of now doing this full time.
So, speaking of Rockstar, I mean, you worked on everything from like Max Payne 3 forward, so some of the biggest games in gaming history. I mean, Red Dead, Grand Theft Auto 5, 6. Why the pivot to board games?
Well, like after Red Dead, the industry started changing quite a bit, and before it was Wild West of games. You could do anything, especially inside of Rockstar. It was like a never-ending learning thing. Whether you wanted to go in lighting, you wanted to do this, you could do that. And slowly after the success in the industry, before this last crash happened, um, it was just changing, and it just kind of like wasn't as fun for me anymore. And I kind of already proved that there was nothing left of that childhood dream. Like I did Red Dead, I did GTA 5, worked on 6 for 5 years. So it was like there was really nothing left. And kind of to be honest, uh, even though I was employed at Rockstar, it wasn't my first choice. Sometimes you just have to go where you go. I wasn't ever a big
Absolutely.
Rockstar fan, but I always loved JRPGs. I always loved RPGs, and that's kind of even where we'd like to focus in the future is like really focus on even mobile games that aren't hefty, just fun, simple games. No different than for us, we look at the mobile community as like you could literally start releasing SNES and NES type games.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're excited about that. We're gonna try to stay here as long as we can.
Oh, absolutely,
You know.
totally. Now, speaking of that, what's your favorite JRPG? Curiosity, just.
Oh, I mean, the Dragon Warrior / Dragon Quest was my very first one. So that I remember a lot of summers eating freezies and playing that game. Back in the day. But now it's like I just like all RPGs and JRPGs. It's really my jam. But also there's great sci-fi. It's
Oh yeah.
really as kind of a student of learning, I've never really said I like this more than that, just so I could keep learning and understanding the game. But yeah, I mean, I was a big WoW guy too. So
Oh yeah. WoW
yeah,
was the addiction for a lot of us.
still is to some. But and the game is also inspired by those games like Diablo and WoW, the old Blizzard that we don't have anymore, right? So,
Right.
and I hope people see that it's just not a JRPG we're taking. There's a heavily influenced on modular design from Blizzard, especially with Diablo 2. So we definitely want people to feel that even if you don't like JRPGs, you still will enjoy this because it's still just a JRPG at the surface, but there's this wonderful game mechanics underneath, and that's what we kind of talk about. And we'll talk about later on how we kind of built the game.
Right. And I really like with this one, so you play as the relic, not the character. So you get this multi-generational story, which feels kind of like Romancing Saga 2, which was a game that actually had a remake last year.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So the original concept actually came back from actually World of Warcraft, and um, I have one of my dreams left to do is to create an MMO that isn't just isn't like robbing you of time, but actually giving you a good experience. And one of the questions that I always had is that what if you're in the forest and you kill a spider and they drop a leather belt? What is that history? What is that history doing with that spider? Who created that leather belt? Why does it exist? So whether it couldn't come out in a board game mechanic, but we definitely would like to push this on mobile and PC when we port it over, is that your weapons actually carry on history. And as you lose them, you'll find them in the wild and you'll find Cody's weapon and you'll be like, who's Cody? Oh, he did all this stuff. And that's where we would like to go with, but we can't get there until we do the first step, which is board games, right? So it's just always asking questions, and that was one of the questions that I asked in WoW is where does stuff come from when you
Why are these boots dropping out of a spider of all things?
yeah, and who made the boots, and if they had a history, and then of course we just upped it and made them really powerful heroes that
Of
are
course.
more exciting than just some apprentice
Right.
who got eaten by a wolf or something. So yeah, but that's where the original kind of idea for the
That's
relic came
that's
from.
a very original idea, really. I mean, nobody else in the board game space, certainly, and even in video games, I've never seen a game
No,
where you play as the item, so to speak, the relic, you know?
yeah, so with Tunnel Story, it wasn't working for a few years way back, and then because we have other board games in the
Okay.
work, and we took a couple things from other board games that weren't working, and we put it together, and then all of a sudden we started realizing that not a lot of people know how to really sell design, because I read all the books and I was following all the rules, and then I realized, oh, there's a lot of different things that you could do to actually make design work. And then that's when my background history in video games started coming out, is like, oh, you could use the video game logic, because the interesting thing about board games is that um, video games don't translate too well to board games, but there isn't one board game that can't translate well into video games.
Right.
You could do any board game and it would work. And even one of the things with Tunnel Story is that we actually built Tunnel Story into a gaming engine, so we could test it with behavior systems
Love
and get
that.
it out. Yeah, so it's just, and we also found out a really interesting thing, and not a lot of people talk about this, is that one of the things that we found out is if it started becoming too hard to program, it was probably too hard for the board game. So it allowed us to really start gauging and really streamlining the game down to this, what we consider just a wonderful little experience.
Well, yeah, I was looking at it, and it's, you mentioned fast setup, like 3 minutes.
Mhm.
And was that an original, like, was that one of the main pillars of design that you
Yes.
started with?
Yeah. So when I went back to looking at board games, and this was in the pandemic, I realized that this is the time that I'd like to start doing it. So I started planning. Um, and one of the things I started looking at was why I don't like to play board games as much as I used to. And the setup time was one of them. It became very frustrating that to set up a game is just as long to play. So one of the core features was like, how do we make it fast, and what can we do to minimize cost and make it the most cost-effective game where people can actually spend their hard-earned money, enjoy a game, but not also spend the whole night setting up or over arguments like Magic the Gathering, right? Magic Gathering, wonderful setup time, but a lot of times you're in arguments with your with your best
Those,
friends, right?
those rules,
Yeah,
is thick now. I mean,
yeah, and it's just like it's never ending, right? Like it's all about who's the better lawyer,
it
sometimes,
really is. My
you
friends
know.
have evolved into lawyers over cards. It's sad.
Yeah, so we kind of like we're kind of pushing on that way, is that we have all these core fundamentals, and one of the fundamentals, other than producing a game that's very cost effective, because everybody strapped for money,
Yep.
like where are you going to come up with $200 every time for these expensive board games?
You can't.
You can't, so you can't enjoy it. So we were like, okay, let's start writing down these core pillars. And then they also became core pillars of our company too, where it's just about quick, easy access, modular design, and also rules that are not a lot of board games take advantage of, like same rules that we have in video games. You have beginner rules, you have, the medium, and then you have the hard. And Tunnel Story also has that too, that even if you wanted to play with your son, there's a rule system that allows you to play with your son or daughter that might be too young to understand it, but they get to roll for the monsters and they get to move. So
That's
that was one of my brother's ideas. And that's all, like, we just want to bring a lot of talk. And again, since video games are so important to us, Bethesda and their mod community also inspired me. And, we want, it's an engine underneath this, and you could do whatever you want to it. And you can remove parts out, you can remove the battling system out and play a passive mode. The game still runs, So like, we really just want to kind of show people like, hey, maybe you can make board games a little bit different, and that way we can get more of them. And I truly think that this is the golden age of board games, other than a little bit of the hiccup with the tariffs, and hopefully that
Uh,
Yeah.
we don't make those decisions. We just
No.
have to live with them.
Yeah, we just have to get around them, and that's also where we have like a little bit of a margin that we could try to help people out and get them this game. And our first game is $39 American.
That's pretty
So
darn good, really.
yeah, you get 300 cards, some standees, some unique dice, and then we bump it up with our deluxe, a little bit more sweeter stuff. But yeah, we found that $39 for 300 cards, 12 or 15 standees, depending on in the future how we could fit them on. But yeah, we're pretty excited about releasing this to everybody on November the 5th.
Yeah, that's an excellent price point. That's a good plan, and I like the use of standees or acrylics as opposed to minis. Those are a lot
Yeah,
easier and cheaper to produce, which allows for more variety. So that's a really
yeah,
smart move, I think.
yeah. The days of seeing the 300 minis, different unique minis, is now gone. I think they're very expensive now, and acrylics are expensive too. So we're going to start with just normal standees and then work our way up. This is our first rodeo. We're learning the ropes, so to speak.
Well, and I mean, with the advent of 3D printing, there's even the option to sell STL
Yeah,
files on relative cheap to fans, and they can print
yeah,
their own.
100%. And we're not doing print to play this time, but definitely something like that we'd be extremely excited to do. Just everybody has a 3D printer, somebody has a 3D printer that they know, and if they just want our standees or figures that we'd do, yeah, definitely 100%. That would be no problem.
Yeah, I saw that as kind of the future of board games. If you want extravagant minis, maybe you design those as your company
Yeah.
and you do a fairly cheap price to your backers. Here's the STL files, print them out and enjoy.
Yeah, that is an excellent idea. That really is. It's
It's crowdsourcing the business, really.
Yeah, I mean that's what these conversations have to be about, because things are only going to get more expensive as we go
Yeah,
out.
and the waste on that level, if you
Yeah.
print out your own minis, they don't have to waste all the materials for
Oh, yeah,
packaging and shipping, and it
yeah,
just makes sense, I think.
100% is a very good idea. Hmm.
And I like a couple other things about Tunnel Story that I saw that I really enjoy. Your Street Fighter inspired combat engine is really cool. Like, that's a really neat idea.
Yeah, so that was actually designed because so I look at every other game and I always say, what is the weakness in this game? What I don't like and dislike. And I know a lot of D&D fans might get angry at me, but the Tunnel Story like combo dice were actually designed to counter D&D dice,
Makes
because
sense.
I always thought that D&D was a little bit too unforgiving, because you would roll a 1 to 20, and even though your character would have some different modifiers, you would end up sometimes wiping out. And anybody that, I have friends in MMA, and the difference between them fighting and I'm fighting, I'm going to slip all over the place. But a very skilled warrior is not probably going to slip. It would be a rarely rare chance. So the way that I looked at it was, well, what games haven't been really exploited in board games? And I thought, well, Street Fighter has this interesting technique. And then it magically fit on six-sided dice. So
No
it's like,
complaints there, right?
yeah, it's just like, and that's like one of the things I always tell people is like, we don't know what's around the corner, because we can't find any person that has done this before. And we're moving to IP protect these dice in certain countries. We just want a little fun in the sun with them. But it's just like, they were always there. And that's like, there's a whole bunch of ideas that are always there. And it just takes, you know, building off other games, which would have been Talisman and Catan, so that's all that we also want to do, is just be those still steps for the next generation of game designers, or even current generation, right? Like, I'm sure we're getting a lot of people inspired by our ideas too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the joy of gaming. As a
Yeah.
community, somebody will come up with a really good idea, like Dominion, for instance, for deck building.
Yes.
And
100.
then all of a sudden that mechanic grows organically from game to game. And you get these things like Thunderstone Quest and all these other games that have taken that core idea and blown it out of the water.
Yeah. It's we're not like, even I always tell people, like, I want to go back to 8-bit games, because now with the new computers that we have, we could do so much more with 8-bit games and 16-bit games, better color palettes and more stuff that we could do. So it's, even with video games, it's not closed up either. and board games are one of those things that I always joke that the most interesting thing about board games is that you patch instantly. You know, as soon as you think about it, you download that patch instantly, and that's what also is very excited about building Tunnel Story on an engine, is that people that want to mod out and they want to share their house rules or something like that, yeah, that would be very exciting to see, you know, and just see how people play off of it and keep improving on it too, right?
Yeah, and that goes all the way back to the original board games. I mean, people house rule the heck out of Monopoly every
Well, you
time.
had to.
Well, yeah, exactly. Nobody plays Monopoly by the rule book. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and that also like brings up one of our pillars, and one of my design pillars is that um, you should never punish the player. And one of the biggest game design kind of um, things that I realized was like Talisman had this toad mechanic.
I do remember
And
the Toad, yes.
yeah, it was just awful. It was like nobody enjoyed it. And at the time, you know, we were young, so we're like, oh, it's in the rules, it has to be in the game. But
And now
I
you can just
wish
be
we
like,
ripped
no,
it up.
there's no Toad.
I know I should have just ripped up the card. That's what I should have did, and then we'd never had those arguments, you know.
Well,
But
there's an instant win card in, like, I think it's Space Base or whatever, and
yeah,
people will just remove that from the box. They're like, forget this.
yeah, and that's what like why video games and board games are kind of cool, and they show these or have these similarities. Um, there is this very strong modding base that if you encourage, who knows where things will take off, right?
Yeah, and the idea of a moddable board game, what a great idea, because
Yeah.
that is just brilliant.
Well, we're excited. I mean, every game has like their mods, right? Their but things, but we also want feedback from people, our VIPs, and people that will, you know, back us in this copy. We're not going to forget them, and they're going to definitely control where we're going with the game. Also, we'll be giving them options, which expansions we release and stuff like that. So we definitely want a communion, like a community base, you know, where people feel like you're actually a part of this, and that's a really nice feeling to have, right?
Yeah, and I think with kickstarting and things like that, you know, sometimes it gets a bad taste in people's mouths because they're just using it as a pre-order system, which admittedly there's companies that do.
Yeah,
But
100%.
you guys, by taking feedback and involving the backers and the people that you talk to, that's brilliant, because that lets them know, hey, this is an ever-evolving game, and what we get at the end is going to have our ideas in it too.
Yeah, truly. And we've partnered with some very, very smart people. So we're allowed to do this. Back office is helping us fulfillment. Pandas, of course, our manufacturer, and then
Great
we're also
manufacturer.
yeah, and then we partnered with another company called why did it slip my brain? Eric, she's gonna kill me.
Pledge manager.
Pledge Manager, which they have done some big games, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
allow us to kind of keep in touch with the customer, the backer, and then, you know, we have this mailing list, and we could set up different things on boats and stuff like that. So yeah, we're just getting started. So we're hoping that you know, people take, you know, it's a chance. We're using this as Kickstarter is. It's an investment chance, but we're fairly confident in this game. It's been tested a lot, so when it comes time to ship, I'm sure people will enjoy it.
Oh, I mean, just looking at the art, it captured me. I'm like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
So that last art pass was actually just figured out in August. So I'm scrambling to update all the cards.
Right? Exactly.
So, but I'm very happy with that one. Our last one was good. There's been about like 40 or 50 iterations on all these cards. And that last one kind of felt like, yeah, that's the right one where
Well,
everybody.
yeah, it looks like a Super Nintendo box that I'm going to pick up and stick in the system when I get home. I'm going to love it. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's just I just wanted to, like, I don't really see too many cards that really push, like a lot of cards, like whether it's from Wizards or something, that kind of just do text-based. But I'm an artist, so I wanted to kind of push art and some optics and kind of have fun with it.
Oh yeah, nobody's going to complain about a pretty looking game.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. So even if it sucks, you know, you still got a beautiful you got a beautiful game and cool dice, you know. It won't suck.
So I assume that one of the questions I had originally thought about was how long it took you to come up with this idea. But by listening to what you've said so far, this has been a multi-year dream for you.
Yeah, it actually started as a comic, and
Oh,
I still
nice.
am yeah, so I'm still working on the comic. It's, you know, it's equal to like something like Watchmen, like
Mhm.
340
Oh, that's really cool.
pages. Yeah, and it's just like it's there, done. You know, I have a big problem with a lot of series that keep going and going and going, and it's just like things have to have a beginning and an end, right?
It's what
And
keeps me out of comic books most of the time. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Where do I start?
well, yeah, and it's not easy. So we definitely still want to do that in the future, and that would be more lore based kind of stuff dealing with the world that Tunnel Story's in. But yeah, I mean, we've been working on board games. Like Rockstar has pretty solid NDAs, so we kind of couldn't experiment
Right.
publicly with stuff until I left. But yeah, we got a number of good games. We're pretty excited after Tunnel Story. We think we have a way of doing like Final Fantasy Tactics on a board game without killing everybody's bank account and
Oh,
stuff.
that's exciting because that's one of my
Yeah,
favorite games.
yeah. So we thought we better do this one because it's the most easy entry one. We can't do a Gloomhaven yet. We haven't earned that credibility with our customer or fan. So let us just start developing slowly, learn each other's methods, and you know, like get there. But yeah, like we're very excited. Like tactics was one of my favorite genres, you know. So um, yeah, don't take away from Tunnel Story. We like that
No,
one.
no, we got to go back to Tunnel Story, but that is the glimpse at the future of where this is going.
Yeah, like we're here to stay. This is like my full-time job now, and we're taking this very serious. We're doing this as a proper company. You know, we're Eric's a business guy. He's been in business all of his life, so he's helping me out quite a bit, and I'm learning tons of stuff about that. And you know, we're definitely going to try to stay for a long time. We want to be one of the, you know, if I could do this for the rest of my days, you know, then what a better way to end your life than making board games that makes everybody happy, and that would be a really cool thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it brings joy to board games is one of the few things that I know of where my grandmother, my son, my aunt and uncle, and my fiance can all sit down at a table and across multiple generations have fun. And it's
Yes.
always that is a unique thing that's very board game.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, like now that kind of playing cards have kind of fizzled, they're not as popular. Like bridge is not as popular as it once was as the turn of the century, in like the 19th. But I do find that board games kind of are that next evolution of them. And you know, we look at granddaddies like Monopoly, and now we look at something like Gloomhaven. There's a giant jump there that happened, and you know, that's really exciting. You know, because we don't know where it's going to end. There's
Oh,
no, you know,
the possibilities are endless.
that's what, you know, that's why we're excited. We have a lot of cool other ideas that we'd love to start implementing in other games. Also in our expansions, also we're very excited with some of our expansions. So yeah, we're definitely happy to be here and in this golden age.
You've
And,
definitely made
yeah.
a believer of me and my fiance just from looking at the game.
Well,
So the
thank you. I
fact,
mean, that's what art's job is to do, right?
right?
And then gameplay takes you home. So, but it is a JRPG. Like I don't want to, like it's a JRPG. It's as close as I can make a JRPG to have without overtaxing you in experience or anything else like that. So yeah, we really streamlined Tunnel Story down to so there's no real record keeping or anything like that. So it's just get in, have fun, set up quick. We say it's 3 minutes, but it's probably like 20 seconds. It's just
No,
laying down. Yeah, we just legally we want to make sure that, you know, if there's somebody that
we
sets
want
up a
to
little slow.
we want to over promise or overstate it, but
Yeah,
I'm in sooner. Yeah,
yeah. So, um, but yeah, we're like, I think one of the. Sorry, we go ahead.
you're
I
good.
had a brain fart there.
It's all right. I mean, there was no. You've covered most any base I had about the game just through natural conversation. Is there other things about it that we haven't talked about that you think are important for people to know?
Well, the original idea, like I said, was that Tunnel Story was the closest thing I could get to a JRPG. So, um, one of the things like with Monster, the hostage system is,
Oh, right, the hostage system. Very Shin Megami.
yeah,
Sorry about that. I forgot that.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, those games have been around for a while, and then just like art, you always just kind of put your own flavor on somebody else's stuff. Um, so whether it's Pokemon or any other game that deals with some sort of hostage situation. I guess you would say that with Pokemon. But yeah, so it's actually, I'm a student of history. I love history. So one of the things that I really liked learning about was that in medieval combat, if you were a lord or somebody high up, you were just taken hostage. But if you were a peasant or somebody lower, you were killed. But the interesting twist is that a lot of the peasants went to war to try to capture a lord because they would get a little bit of that profit, right? So I just thought, well, how do we get rid of gold coins and experience? And I just thought, well, let's just put them into one of the most logical things, which is the monster. So the monster is not only your health. So if an enemy that's attacks you and you have a monster of the same strength, you can exchange that. They're also your experience, so that's how you cash in and get more levels. And then we have a casino and a couple other cards that allow you to gamble with monsters, so you can do some stuff. Like I said, it's a JRPG.
I think it was Final Fantasy X, where you go on
Yeah.
the plains and you go up there and they've got the battle arena or whatever where you gamble.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the fun thing about JRPGs is that there's so much to pull from, so influence. So yeah, we have a casino card and we have a shop card that you could trade monsters in, stuff like that. So all those cards, like, kind of, we call them the specialty terrain cards, and you kind of just swap them into the main deck in the main play area as you're playing. Kind of, you roll in an icon, and that's another one is that since we love Catan, and it taught me a lot about dice probability, I just thought, hey, what a great mechanic for kind of like a little bit of an engine there, where you could kind of set up your character to be. So example, if you have a slime that is cowardly, you would just put more runs down. So he has a bigger chance of running. If you have aggressive, you have more attacks. But also in the terrain, to get to the next area, you have to roll the tunnel card. And that tunnel card goes down, and then you put a mini boss on that tunnel card. And then one player has to fight that boss to get to the next area. But the only way you can do that is if you actually roll. Usually it's a 4 or a 10. Which is a medium risk icon, and that allows us to really kind of allow you to grind, which is a part, but also just kind of we don't have to have a big rule book or an instruction book where it says you have to do this after a certain time. So it's very dynamic in that way, and that's why we're very excited about people to get their hands on it in the future.
Yeah, and that was one thing my fiance was worried about, because to say she's new to board games is pretty accurate. I mean, she's starting to get more of them under her belt, but she's still a very new person at them. And her big question was, how is it newbie friendly? For a new audience?
Excellent question. So, like I said, I can't say it enough. We built Tunnel Story on an engine, and maybe I need to go into that a little bit more. So, if you were making a zombie game, for example, and you removed the zombies and the game fell apart, I would call that high level language. So, what we did was we looked at all the fundamentals of what makes a game a game. So that's how do you kill something? How do you level up? How do you finish? How do you die? And we always looked at every single mechanic that we brought into that game, and can we remove it, and does the game fall apart? And if it did, we kept working on it until it didn't. So one of the interesting things about Tunnel Story, and the interesting thing about co-op in general, because co-op is kind of like throwing a tennis ball at the wall. You'll always expect it comes back. Where PvP, or you're fighting against your friends, they're not only fighting against you, they're fighting against the game because they want to win. So PvP has this very interesting, much easier ceiling to design in. So for example, if you want to play with her and you want to play in a hardcore mode, which means you just get one relic, one hero, she could still play in an easier mode, and she could have 3 heroes. So the heroes is actually what stacks and makes things more easy and more accessible. So if you even plan to play with one of your children and you give them 5 heroes, they're going to have a very easy time and maybe even help you out of a couple tough spots. But yeah, so for example, our hardcore is 1-1-1, which is one relic, one hero. Then our average game that we recommend most players is that you start with 1-1, but you can recruit up to 3. And then anybody that needs a really big helping hand, they can start with 3 and recruit up to 5 if they want to. But that makes the game pretty easy.
Right. But for a 10-year-old kid, that's
for a 10-year-old kid, yeah. We have other game mechanics. We have a BR mode that we're pretty proud about, so you actually can play Battle Royale co-op version.
That's
And yeah, so there's like a whole, but like I said, it's just we're going to give this engine to people, and they're going to find out whole different ways of making stuff and making cool stuff that we didn't even think of. And
well,
that's
it's an amazing amount of modularity and
yeah,
content for your price. I mean, you're getting, you know, a PvP game, a co-op game,
yeah.
everything all in one box for a normal price.
And for the PvPers, we do have a PvP method going in. So just imagine Street Fighter Dice, and Magic the Gathering. So we do have that, but again, we need to build up
Right.
trust in the audience before we can release something.
Yeah, and I mean, co-op and solo is a great way to start with.
Yeah,
Because I
especially
know
solo.
a lot of people are turned off by the "oh, I have to win" mechanic of
Yeah,
normal games, and co-op gets rid of all of that tension and is just
100%.
have a soda and have fun while we play.
Yeah, and we even put two tunnel stories together, and it still works.
That's
It's
really
just
cool.
modular. Yeah, it's just modular. You just have two different towns, and I mean that's where we'd like to start expanding out. Is that you can get to a new town and you can do all this stuff, but we can't offer a $250 price on a new game, but we can eventually get there with expansions and version releases and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So, but it, like we said, since we built on this modularity, and that's one of the things I hope people start thinking about their board games and they're designing is, hey, could I make this more modular? Because not only does it increase your testing time, or decrease, excuse me, your testing time, but it's also way more fun to design
Right.
and work in it, right? So so yeah, we're very excited about what people will do with the engine when they get it. And the other thing with Tunnel Story is we could reskin it. So if we're getting a lot of sci-fi fans, we'll reskin it for sci-fi or something else like that. Like it's just changing the art, some words, and some new kind of mechanics to make it sci-fi. But yeah,
Final Fantasy VIII went from witches to
yeah,
space, so I mean, you know.
yeah, they did a really quick change over there. But yeah, and I mean that's who knows where we're gonna go, right?
I could see me combining a space one and a normal one just for the heck of it. Why
You
not?
would be able to do that.
That would be cool.
Yeah, like, and like I guess a lot of people ask me like the name with Tunnel Story, like what is it? And other than the tunnels are the things that get you to the harder areas. So like one of the things that we ran early on to is like, how do we make hard cards exist with easy cards? And we couldn't. It was really difficult because you'd punish the player, which is breaking the first rule. And so we thought, well, just would cage them off. So you'd go through a gate or a tunnel, and then that would lead to the harder areas. And then those are stackable. So we could always release expansions that go past the first three and go into 4 or 5 or 6. And we do have up to 6 planned. But Tunnel Story is also, like I said, I'm a student of history and I love history. And there's these things called tunnel books, and they're very popular in the 17th and 18th century. And what they look is like if you took an accordion and you stretched out, and there was plates of pictures, and then you look down a peep sight, and you could see the different characters. Think of it as a different time, no TV, so this is as exciting as
really
life.
cool.
Yeah. So what we did was Tunnel Stories actually, and we explained this on our Kickstarter, is that every single plate that you're replacing is one of those expansions. And even if you don't like a part in an expansion, say you like a relic from an expansion, just put that relic in, it'll work. So it's kind of like you build your tunnel story, you build your story in each of these plates as you're kind of going down. And then as we get further on, we'll start releasing, you know, new harder bosses that are just expansion of just boss stuff. So it's just kind of like you're building your story and you're kind of building the game that you want. So, I mean, I love Talisman. It was one of my favorite games, and I just always wanted just to chop up the board and make it more modular. And this is kind of that inspiration. So, like, that's Tunnels. Like I said, like Tunnels. Excuse me, Tunnelsman allowed me to kind of push on, and Catan allowed me to push on it, and that's kind of our structure too. Is that we want to be the next step for board games. Also, just people look at it and say, hey, that's a really good idea, I wonder if you did this, or I was inspired by that, you know. And that's a really cool fundamental of my design anyways, is to give back. And I kind of gave back enough in video games. I figured it's now time to try to do comics and board games in the future, you know, and give back to those two things that I also love. So
Well, as an artist, you have to go where the where the feeling takes you. Because if you're making art without passion, what's the point?
Yeah, and that's like the AI argument, right? Like it doesn't
Mhm.
have the same passion. So, um, and board gamers are one of those people that, they're trying to fight the good fight against the machines, as you would say. And they want things that are just human made for human quality, right?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
I mean, and we're nothing but passionate.
Yeah. And I think, we are some of our VIPs, the messages that they've wrote have been super passionate and super wonderful.
Mhm.
And it really keeps us going because like you release a product, you don't know if it's gonna work or not. Like we didn't know, like, you know is are JRPGs and board games successful? There is Boss Monster, which everybody loves, but we're kind of actually doing a JRPG, so is it going to be successful? And then also with, like I said, always want to do an 8 or 16-bit game, so this art, is it going to be successful? Are people going to like it? And that's kind of what artistry is, in my opinion, is kind of like art is failing on your own terms and
Mhm.
accepting that, and then you're happy because you've at least tried it the way that you thought it should go. But we're quite happy. We're getting a lot of good feedback, for a first game in the Kickstarter environment. A lot of learning, a lot of understanding how Kickstarter works and stuff like that. But we partnered with a lot of good companies to help sure that whoever backs us gets this game, and you know I'll be working on it full time until it ships. So um, then we'll figure out what
And
I
you'll be
do.
working on it full time after it ships. It's just the way it
Hope
is.
so. I hope so. I'm hoping it goes that way.
Well, I could see this game at this price point with this kind of ease of entry. I could see this on a Target or a Walmart shelf, alongside all
Yes.
these other games that are successful, not only as hobby, but mass market too.
So like one of the things that, like we said, we want a community-based feedback because I've been getting a lot of emails where people, I guess, are a little bit they think it's a smaller game. Like we are shipping in
No,
a
it's a
wingspan box.
pretty big game.
It's a pretty big game. Well, we didn't really say that there's 300 cards yet. You're kind of getting the first one, but so it's a big game. But one of the things that we got some requests from is that people want, like, they after they learn about it and they talk to me, they kind of want a modular game. And if we're going to enter into that kind of Walmart in the future, we'd make a very kind of like travel pub-esque kind of game where maybe you don't have all the monsters or you don't have all the enemies, but you'd still have the system and you'd still be able to play it for even a cheaper price.
Well,
Um,
right. HeroQuest just did that with like their
yeah,
first light or whatever it's called.
yeah, and I think that's also a great way to kind of expand your IP. And maybe $39 is still a lot of money. Like that might be people's takeout food for that week. So times are tough, and we want to make sure that people can play our games. And this is where the argument for print to play is. But the only reason I'm scared of a print to play is it's kind of like giving your keys away to the counterfeiters. And one of the lessons that we actually learned when we partnered with Launch Boom, Dusty, who's done some wonderful games, kind of told us about a story that he had where in Amazon, for example, if you don't pay for the 60-cent label, your stuff gets piled in. So what he found out was his stuff got piled in with the counterfeiter stuff
Oh
into a
no.
giant bin, and everybody was getting all the other stuff. So you always have to be careful. Like like we want to protect this IP where this is like my deathbed smile, right? So I'm not saying that we'll ever not think about print to play, but right now it's just we're concentrating on getting the best product that we can to the backer, um, and just starting that conversation with them, like, hey, where do you want us to go with this? Because we got all these ideas, kind of thing.
Right. And like you said, print to play is a nice
Yeah,
idea until everybody and their mother shares it on a BitTorrent site, and then you're screwed.
yeah. Well, like there is a purpose for it. There's been successful print to plays, right? But we've put a lot of time into this game and a
Exactly.
lot of art. Like I said, when I say 40 to 50 passes, you'll be seeing them in the lore kits and stuff like that. Yeah, we did a lot of passes to get to here. And so we put in our time. And a good business is we get money, we keep doing what we want, and you guys get
You
product
get an
that you keep
experience.
playing. Right. And that's basically consumerism 101, right? At the best
Mhm.
part. And that's what we want to do. So it's kind of like just not ruling out print to play. I don't want
No,
to enjoy anybody's dreams, but it's dangerous. It's very dangerous.
and I don't think anybody's going to fault you for protecting your baby. You know,
I
you
hope
did
not.
all of this work for it, and it would be crazy to be angry at somebody to expect
Yeah.
at least enough profit to work on the next product. So that's not an issue I don't see. You know.
Yeah, I left a pretty good career at Rockstar to start this.
Mhm.
You know, so but it felt right. And as we're wrapping up, I'll just be more honest with that too. I lost a friend to colon cancer during the pandemic, and and as a 2-time cancer survivor, I was like, oh man, I'm kind of thinking I'm invincible here, and reality is gonna sink in one day. And it's just, this is the right time. It felt right, and we're just pushed forward on it. Like, I know how to crunch. Trust me. It's in my blood. So it's like, you guys are going to get a good product for your $39 or $89 with our deluxe kit that we're pretty proud about too.
And I'm excited to see that too, because I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah, we got a couple little left hooks that, you know, will be like, hey, that's pretty cool, you know. So but yeah, November 5th, you'll learn all about it.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Well,
This
we're
has been an
excited.
amazing experience. I appreciate you guys setting this up. You're actually the first interview I've done for my channel, so
You're our first interview.
really?
So
Oh geez.
yeah.
It was I was really scared about it. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And then you guys were just the friendliest, most professional gentlemen ever, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Cody, for reaching out to us.
Yeah. And if you guys ever need anything, you got a friend in life, you know, just reach out.
Well, we'll be in touch in the future. Don't worry.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
No problem.
You guys have a wonderful evening.
Well, do you want to, we'll just end it there and we can edit it, but